But ask the animals, and they will teach you. The birds of the air, and they will tell you. Ask the plants of the earth, and they will teach you. And the fish of the sea will declare to you. Who among all these does not know that the hand of the Lord has done this? In his hand is the life of every living thing and the breath of every human being. It is my honor and my privilege now to introduce to you Sarah Curry from Pelican Harbor Seabird Station. Welcome her.
Hey guys. How's it going? Happy Earth Day. Thanks for having us. I think it's probably safe to say this is the first time there's been a possum up here. But this is Meryl, our awesome possum. So who's been to the Seabird Station before? Anybody? A few people? Great. Well, hopefully you guys come visit us sometime. We're right over on 79th Street Causeway. And we've been around for almost 40 years. We're Miami's oldest wildlife rehabilitation facility. And we originally started with a couple that was living on a houseboat in Biscayne Bay. And they were seeing pelicans come by with hooks in them, and there was nowhere to really bring them. So they decided that they should do something about it. And here we are 40 years later. We now treat over 100 species. Meryl wants to move around. Over 100 species of native wildlife. And it's a really great facility. We actually, this morning, there were 5 birds waiting for us when I got there. So we stay busy. We have between 1,500 and 2,500 patients a year. And as Meg mentioned, we are a nonprofit and rely on donations, and our volunteers especially. We have over 40 volunteers, and they come in twice a day and help us feed the animals and clean the cages. It's a lot of spraying down the walls from the bird poop and, really glamorous stuff like that, but it's what makes our work possible, so we really appreciate that. And if you're interested, let me know. But now I'm going to tell you about our education animals that I brought with us today. So this is Meryl, like I said, an awesome possum. And you've likely never seen someone this comfortable or cozy with a possum, and that's because she has been imprinted to humans. So someone found her when she was a baby, and they were like, oh my gosh, she's so cute, we love her, let's take her home with us. So they did, and they fed her human food, and they let her sleep in their bed, and then she grew up, and they realized maybe we don't, want a possum living with us. At that point in time, she was kind of unable to be released back into the wild, and so this is kind of a lesson of, why you don't do that necessarily. That being said, we all love her at the station, and she comes with us to events like this. And just a few facts about why this is an awesome possum. First of all, she's a marsupial, so she's related to kangaroos and koalas, which means she has a pouch. It's her private pouch, so I can't show you. But essentially, they have like 14 babies. They have a ton of babies because they don't live that long. They only live 3 or 4 years. So she's an old lady, kind of. And so they have really a lot of babies, and then they put them in the pouch for a couple months. And actually, she acts as a foster mom oftentimes because a lot of possums get hit by cars in Miami, but the babies are still alive. So the orphans will come to us, and we'll feed her a grape because she loves grapes and mangoes and fish and all sorts of stuff because she's an omnivore. But that's another reason she's an awesome possum, because they eat ticks. And as you know, the ticks carry Lyme disease. So if you have a possum around your house, that's actually a good thing. And they don't carry rabies, or it's very rare. So their blood temperature is a little lower. The other thing, you may have seen them experience it personally where they kind of hiss at you or something. But that's just they're kind of freaked out. Like if someone scared you and you went, that's all they're doing. So they're actually not really scary animals, and they're kind of good to have around your yard. So hope you enjoyed meeting Meryl, and I'm gonna put her down. If someone wants to maybe grab her leash. She might walk around. I doubt she won't go far. She might just sniff around the area. Her tail's hooked on me. She's about 3, so she's getting up there. And so another cool thing is they actually do that, that term play possum, that's a real thing. And they actually don't have a choice in that. It's like a reaction when they get really stressed. And now we have a really special ambassador animal. Let's see if she wants to come on my finger or not. Yeah. So this is an eastern screech owl, and she's getting used to being out here. Her name is Aries. So Aries came to us with a wing injury. So some of her primary feathers, I don't know if you guys have seen these. I'll back up. I don't know if you guys know about these owls. They're all over Miami, which is really amazing. So once you know kind of what to look for and what to listen for, you should be able to find them. So first, and I don't have my app with me, but I recommend you getting the Audubon Bird app and searching for eastern screech owl, and then you can hear it. So then basically go outside at night in Miami and look for oak trees. So you can see, although she's checking out Meryl at the moment, her chest feathers, that kind of look like an oak tree, right? So that's where they live. They're cavity-dwelling birds. So if you see a oak tree with a hole in it and hear their specific call at night, that's where you'll find them. So they're the smallest species of owl in Florida. So she's full grown, not a baby. And these guys live about 14 years old, but she's about 3 or 4 now. That's a good question. I would have to ask the rehab people that. I don't know. Her name is Aries. How can we tell how old she is? That's another good question. So she came to us because she had permanent wing injury on her primary feathers. So her primary feathers are kind of the main ones they use to fly. So like I said, these guys live in oak trees around Miami, and when they're fledging and they're getting ready to fly, they kind of go out on the limb, and sometimes they fall out. Oftentimes they just need to be re-nested. They don't necessarily need to be brought to us, so it's great to call and see kind of if they need to just be put back in the tree. But oftentimes when they do fall out of the tree, they can get attacked by a cat or something, and we think that's what happened to her. So we're hoping when she molted and kind of grew her feathers in again that those might heal, but they did not. So there's certain injuries essentially that animals can have that makes them unreleasable, and that's when we can keep them and use them for this type of stuff. So whether it's a wing injury or an eye injury, pretty important things that birds need to be able to do to survive in the wild. So she's a bird of prey. She's a raptor, right? She's an owl, and that means she eats mice and roaches and stuff like that. So again, they're actually great to have in your neighborhood. We feed her mice, and the eastern screech owls that we get that are released back into the wild have to do something called mouse school. So we have an owl mew outside at our facility, which is where the screech owls go. Again, I recommend all of you guys coming to visit us. And so the screech owls that are out in the owl mew, we feed them live mice, and so if they can pass mouse school, basically, so they can hunt and get the mouse, and they have passed mouse school and they are ready to be released, so we can know they can survive on their own. But we have about 9 resident pelicans that live with us year-round, and Meryl, and we did have a sandhill crane, but it just got relocated to the Keys Wildlife Facility. There's the South Florida Wildlands one up in Broward, the one in the Keys, and there's the Bachelor bird of prey that's associated with the Science Museum, and I think they just take raptors. And then there's some different, so we only take native wildlife, and that was a decision that we kind of had to draw a hard line recently, just because we are really small and we get so many patients in. And so other facilities take all kind of animals, but we just take native wildlife. But still, that's a ton of birds and animals because, as you guys know, we live in Miami and we have the Everglades and we have our beaches, so we have all different types of birds that live in these ecosystems that come to us. So, does anyone have any other questions? We have a shrike, which is a songbird, like Meg said, to release afterwards. We're happy we could bring one. We never kind of know when they're going to be able to be released. And this bird came in with a head injury. So a lot of warblers and songbirds come to us because of window strikes. They run into buildings. So we live here, then the wildlife lives here, right? And so we see these different injuries come in, whether it's the head trauma from a window strike, or like I said, the hook and line. That was the reason we started nearly 40 years ago, and that's still kind of one of our biggest injuries. So we always encourage people to definitely throw away hooks and lines when you're out fishing. But the shrike hit a window, and it's been with us about 13 days. And from his activity back there is ready to go. So, yeah, sorry, you? Well, I think there's folks that come and take care of that. We don't necessarily go to houses, but if you were able to get him or her out and bring them to us if it had an injury. Sometimes they do that if they're looking to, have babies or something, but it doesn't necessarily sound like this one is. It's probably just caught. Yeah, I don't know a name to give you at the moment, but I can help you. You have a name? Thanks. Yes? Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's so beautiful to see them in your space. And actually, if you want to encourage them, maybe coming. So this is our carrier for the screech owls, but you can actually put an owl box like this in your backyard if you have a tree, and a squirrel might take it over, something else might, but an eastern screech owl pair may decide to nest there. Maybe not the first year, and we're thinking about having a workshop, kind of like teaching people how to build those. So yeah, but they don't necessarily, they wouldn't, if there's a hole and they can kind of get in and hide out, then that works for them too.
You're so adventurous. Are you going to reach?
Yeah, you'd put it in the tree up high for sure.
That's
Yes?
a big step, Meryl. I don't know, honey. I don't think that I like that. Come on, let's go back this way. You can go there.
Okay. I do not, but okay, definitely. Yeah, we have a sign-up sheet for like our newsletters. I can pass around if you guys are interested. We have all sorts of cool things happening at the Seabird Station. We just finished a speaker series But that's a monthly series kind of during the winter when we talk to bird experts from South Florida, and we do seabird cruises every month out to Bird Key Rookery, which is a mangrove island near our facility, and our executive director, Chris Boykin, if any of you know him, know he's amazing, and he kind of tells you about all the birds on the island, and those happen every month. But I have some brochures too and newsletters and stuff I can leave so you guys can learn more, for sure. You can get closer. I know, she has her back to you. I can do this. So it's a myth that they can turn their heads all the way around, right? But they can almost turn them all the way around. So we can have peripheral vision and can look to the side, right? But Alice can kind of just look forward. So they do need to actually turn their heads a lot. But I'm sorry she's not necessarily looking at you guys. But I'll have her... I think that's the second time today that's happened to me. I'll have her out too after the service, and yeah, you can come up to her and take a picture with her if you want, just with no flash. So, yeah.